Okay, so this is my round 4 against another 2100 plus player. Um, in this game, D4. This game was sort of an opening disaster. Um, so it was a London system, knight of 6, E3, and I played bishop of 5. Um, so basically I want to keep my bishop outside of the pawn chain, but what this allows is C4, E6, knight c3, and after c6, move queen b3. And this position is already very bad for black, I think, because the only move that I want to be playing in this position is queen b6. And on queen b6 now there's c5, takes on b3, a takes b3, and the position becomes very unpleasant. So this this was not good for me to do, and I learned for how to handle this since so that similar things don't happen. But basically the plan for white is to play b4, b5, and takes, and then another b4, b5, and white gets protected past pawn. Um, so I need to get out of, I need to make it so b5 can't happen by putting pawn on a6, but right now the rook is pinned. So I start with knight d7. h3. Um, h3 seemed to me like a little bit of an inaccuracy, but because it allows me to play a6 and rook c8 before b5 comes. Um, but as it turns out, it doesn't really matter when b5 comes. It's just the idea that eventually white will be able to play b5, maybe sacrifice a piece, maybe sacrifice on a6. Um, Knight f3, bishop e7, knight d2, bishop d8. So my plan is to challenge this dark square bishop is really obnoxious in my position. So I need to challenge the bishop, and the only way to do that is to get the because of h3, right? Because of h3, this bishop can now be tucked away on h2, so there's no knight h5. So I need to challenge it with the bishop on this diagonal. Um, Bishop e2, I just castle. I can't play bishop c7 quite yet, because if I play bishop c7 in this position, then takes b5, and even if I take with the c pawn, I'll just put it on the board here. Takes b5. If I take with the c pawn, there's knight takes, and if I capture the knight, rook a8, and I lose a rook, end the game. So this would not have been good to allow. So instead, I just castle, and I can just do it next move. But I can't just do it next move because white starts to play very aggressively on the king side. g4, bishop g6, h4. And now I have a tough decision to make. So the threat is h5, right? Trapping the bishop, basically. A bishop would have to be put on e4, where it doesn't want to go to e4 and get captured by the knights, weaken the pawn structure as well. So I either want to play h6 or h5. h6, I didn't like how these pawns were going to start running down the board. Maybe h5, bishop h7, g5, or maybe just g5 immediately to take on h6. If I take on g5, then the h file becomes open and my king becomes very weak. So I didn't like the idea of playing h6, so I played h5. The downside of h5 is that after g5, the knight moves, and suddenly the pawn on h5 is hit by the bishop, and it's very easy for white to play knight f1, knight g3, and take it, and then move the piece away and play h5, h6, and open the h file. White will be a pawn up as well, so this is very bad. So I played knight h7 with the idea of going f6. And the idea of f6 is, okay, yes, like if you play knight f1, I play f6. If you play knight g3, I can take many times on g5. And I trade my h pawn for the g pawn. And if you ever take on f6, I can take back with the knight. So that was sort of the idea of knight going to h7. Bishop d6, rook e8, f4. So the idea of this line is not to allow any sort of e5 break, or makes f6 a little bit less convenient to play. So maybe instead of knight h7, maybe I should go knight e8 so that the bishop doesn't have access to the d6 square, and maybe I can play for e5. It's just very difficult to imagine. Like maybe I can go knight e8, f6, e5, and some plan like this might be a little bit more ambitious and less passive, less just sitting, waiting for white to come uh, and break the position open. In the game, I get this position and I realize how bad things are. I'm already starting to worry about, well, knight f1, knight g3 is still a concern. I still don't have a way to fix that. Um, I now also don't have a source of counterplay with e5, and just the whole position is terrible. So I've tried to close it down, shut down the position, and make a fortress basically with the move f5. The idea of f5 is now if knight f1, I'm in time to play bishop f7 and g6. Um, what else to say? If takes en passant, I just take with the knight. I'm not worried about that. Now I get the position that I was looking for. So I felt like maybe I was getting out here. My opponent played a very strong move, knight f3. And unfortunately, I'm not in time to do what I want to do. I play bishop f7, but I'm not in time to play both g6 and knight f8 because of knight e5. Knight e5 hits the knight on d7. It also hits the bishop on f7, which threatens to take the bishop, and after king takes on h5, we'll win a pawn. So I need to play, I need to take this knight at this point, which is very unfortunate because now my fortress position after g6 is compromised because this pawn is not on d4 anymore, so it's a beautiful square for the knight to go to. So that is the main issue in the position. The knight on e6 is going to maybe support b5, maybe put pressure on these pawns. It's just a very nice square to eventually break through in the position. And I have nothing really to do actively. The issue for black in this position is just a complete lack of space. I have no space for any of my pieces. It's very difficult for white to break through on the king side or the center, but there's so many different ideas. There's sacrifices on h5 at some point, there's sacrifices on a6 at some point, there's b5 sacrifices. So yeah, white can just sort of sit and move around, and black needs to hope that there's no breakthrough. I just move around. I get my bishop to e8 where I feel it's ideally placed. It's supporting this side and this side of the board in case there's sacrifices over here, or b5. I can take with the c pawn. Here I was feeling, okay, maybe I have something. But after knight d4, I sort of just run out of moves. I play bishop d7, now bishop e2, bishop b8. Here, after knight b3, I feel like I have to play knight c7. I looked at this line, knight a5 takes, b takes, and I couldn't quite figure out if this was okay. I was going to... Well, let's actually look in the game, because in the game, rook c3, king f7, here, the idea of lifting the rook comes with, is a tempo up. So let's look at this position. Here, my plan was to take, and here I was going to play rook a8, rook b3, bishop c8. And I couldn't quite find the breakthrough. There might be rook b4. Let's say I just sit. The rook comes up. If I just sit, the rook comes here. Probably this is a threat to sacrifice on b7. I was going to play rook d7. And I looked at this position and I wasn't quite sure what the breakthrough method was. I was hoping that this was going to hold for me. And it might not. It's difficult to even think of a move to wait with if white just plays a waiting move. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this position. I was hoping that it was a fortress, so we'll see. I guess in the analysis with the machine, but in the game, The knight just stayed on b3, king f7. Knight went back to d4, bishop b8, bishop f3, rook e8. We're just moving around. But here I realized after the move rook d8, or actually after the move rook e8, knight e2, I realized that white is actually going over here to sacrifice this way, and I'm not really in time to orchestrate some sort of defense, because that is sort of a real threat to take with the knight, take with the bishop, and get these two pawns over here. I play rook d8, knight g3, bishop e8, bishop f3, or bishop e2, and then I play king g8. Here, I'm pretty sure I have it under control. If you sacrifice, uh, I don't think that the sacrifice is quite working out at this point in time. I think that I'll just be able to put the king on g7. Like if we look at this position, takes, 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 king. I have all my things protected. If you try to retreat your bishop out, maybe, um, I mean, it's a difficult position because h5 is coming. Um, but this felt, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is also just good for white. There's so many different things to worry about. It's really just, I never want to have a position like this again. Um, I just move around until eventually I blunder here with rook d7, and after knight d4, I have no way to defend the e6 pawn because bishop takes f8, king takes f8, starting to win it. The only thing I can do is bishop f7, but this allows this sacrifice. And after bishop takes a6, the position is completely busted. Um, I'm losing c6. I'm losing b5, b6 is going to come, maybe c6. I sacrifice the exchange and move around like this, but this this is how the position ended. It's a very sad game. So I'm curious. Um, of course, this position is fine for black, but after c6, queen b3, I can't play queen b6. Queen b6 is a very bad move. Um, book move, but very bad move. So takes on b3, knight d7, h3, a6. I get the rook to c8. Position is +1. Bishop e7, bishop d8 is good. Bishop e2, castles, and g4, right? So I go bishop g6, and now after h4, okay, so h5 is the correct way to play. h6, g5 is also, my analysis for that is right, that the h file becomes open, and that's very bad for me. So h5, g5, and here, yeah, I should be more active. Knight h7 is a very passive move. And I'm sure, yeah, so I was punished for playing this passive way. Bishop d6, rook e8, f4. This position now, white has stopped all counterplay. f5, position is now winning for white. Hard to see exactly how it's winning, but it just is over time. I should be playing other plans. But I think knight h7 is sort of the move that puts it away. Like knight e8 is much more natural move. And then like I was worried about like knight f1, but now I can play f6. Yeah, g takes. If I thought g takes had to be played here, I probably would have done this. Um, for whatever reason, I guess even g takes to play e5 is more ambitious. Maybe black is still trying to play it for some sort of advantage on this part of the board. If I had seen that that knight f1 didn't work, and f6 is still threatening to take the pawn, but why is it? What if just knight? What if just knight g3? Oh, there's e5. There's move e5. This move I missed. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I was not looking at things like this, which I should have been, because that would have been, then he wouldn't have been able to go with that plan, and my idea of playing f6 would still be very good. He wouldn't have the time to get this tempo and play f4 to stop it, like what happens here. Now f6 is a little dubious because there's no e5 ever. f4 has shut that down, and then f5 is sort of a last bad move to get a losing position. Knight f3 I thought was a very strong move. Machine shows that there's other ways even. Knight e5 is in time though. I have to take it. D takes is good. G6. And this position, while it looks closed, I mean it is very closed. It's just I don't have enough space to work with to keep all of the breakthrough problems to take care of them. Bishop d3. White can just move around with pieces forever. It doesn't matter what specifically they're doing. It's just even bishop takes a6 even here would have been good enough for a win. Um, every move pretty much bishop takes a6 is winning. Yeah, I mean this game. I got it back to this position. I thought this was kind of funny. All the pieces on the back rank. And then yeah, rook f7 is not what I should be doing. I should just try to sit over here so that my bishop will be able to stay on e8. Now here knight d4. This is the position after knight e2 is where I realized that I was sort of busted. There was not really a good way to prevent this from occurring at this point. And yeah, rook takes d6 is very bad. The rest of the game is not really meaningful. And yeah, so this was a loss. We're now back to we're still on +1. But the last two games have been painful, and I'm not used to playing these longer tournaments with this many rounds, so I was already sort of tired. And in a normal 5-round tournament, I would have one more round to play. Um, I could, put all my energy into this game, pass out the next day, not have to do anything, whatever. But here, I have 4 more rounds after this next game, so this is I think this is sort of the lesson from this tournament is that my endurance is not there, not where it needs to be, and that's something that will need to be worked on in future events. And probably the way to work on that is just to play more games. So I'm doing that. So hopefully it pays off. Um, so yeah, that's the end of this game. Stay tuned for the next round, and see you next time.